Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. My husband dragged 2 rolling suitcases into our kitchen. They bumped the cabinet like he meant it. He didn't look at me when he stopped them. He just pointed at the floor like it was settled. I'm Maya, 34, and my brain stuttered for a second. You know that moment when your body reacts first? My throat went tight and my hands went useless. I heard my own breath get loud in my ears. His mother stood behind him in the doorway. She didn't step in, not yet. She scanned my face like a receipt. Then she made a sound that was almost a laugh. He held the door open with his elbow. The move was casual, like he'd practiced it. She walked in slow and claimed the space. Her eyes stayed on me like a warning. I moved without thinking and reached for one handle. Her hand snapped out and blocked me. Not a shove, more like a don't touch line. My fingers hovered in the air and I pulled back. Where's the guest room? Her voice landed flat. No greeting, no hello, nothing soft. She didn't ask, she assigned. My husband's shoulders lifted in a little shrug. I looked at him and waited for the correction. He gave me a small nod instead. It wasn't reassurance, it was instruction. That nod hit me worse than yelling. I stepped aside because the hallway was narrow. She brushed past me and clipped my arm. It didn't hurt, but it counted. I watched her keep walking without turning back. My husband set a tote bag on the counter. It was heavy enough to thud. He slid it toward me with 2 fingers. The gesture felt like a handoff at work. Her meds are in there, he tapped the zipper once. He kept his voice low, like this was normal. I stared at the bag and then at his face. He avoided my eyes like they were heat. His mother called from the hallway. Don't put my things on the floor. The tone was sharp and proud. Like she caught us doing something disgusting. I wanted to snap back, I really did. Instead, I walked to the guest room door. My feet felt too slow for my anger. I could feel her watching my back. She pushed inside and took the bed like a claim. She opened drawers without asking. She made little clicks of disapproval with her tongue. Each one landed like a slap. My husband lingered in the doorway behind me. He didn't enter the room, not fully. His stance was half in, half out. Like he might run if I raised my voice. Just for a while, his words came fast. He rubbed the bridge of his nose and exhaled. I waited for a number, any number. He gave me nothing but that phrase. A while means what? My voice came out thin. I hated that it sounded like pleading. He kept rubbing his face like I was the hassle. His silence did the arguing for him. His mother turned and looked me up and down. You've gained weight, she said it like weather. Then she adjusted her sweater and sat. My husband's jaw clenched and then relaxed. I looked at him again, harder this time. I expected him to shut it down. He stared at the floor like it had answers. That was the first cut and it was clean. I left the room because my face felt hot. In the kitchen, I gripped the counter edge. I counted breaths like I'd learned in therapy once. I still felt like I might explode. He followed me and lowered his voice. Please don't start a fight right now. He lifted his palms like I was the dangerous one. That move made my stomach flip. Did you plan this? I kept my tone steady. He blinked slow and acted confused. Then he nodded once, like conceding a small point. That nod felt like a door locking. Mom can't be alone, his words came clipped. He spoke like he was reading a script. I opened my mouth and then closed it. Because I saw he had more lined up. He grabbed the tote bag and unzipped it. He pulled out a paper with a list on it. Not messy, not casual, but neat and printed. He smoothed it on the counter like a contract. Times, doses, notes all laid out. My name was scribbled at the top in his writing. I don't know why that detail hit so hard. It felt like he'd already decided my role. I laughed one short sound, then stopped. It came out wrong and bitter. He didn't flinch, he just leaned closer. His face was calm, almost gentle. You work from home, he kept it simple. He pointed at the list and then at me. The logic was so thin it was insulting. I felt my nails dig into my palm. Then you can handle her, he said it softly. Soft like kindness, like a favor. I stared at him and waited for the punchline. There wasn't one, just his steady eyes. From the hallway, her cane knocked the wall once. A deliberate knock like a reminder bell. Then her voice floated in, sweet and sharp. I need tea, not that weak stuff. My husband's eyes flicked toward the sound. Then he looked back at me with a warning. The message was clear without words. Don't make this harder. I walked to the cabinet and stopped. My body moved and my mind argued. I wanted to drop everything on the floor. Instead I stood there with my hands still. Why didn't you tell me? My voice shook anyway. He sucked in a breath like he was tired of me. He put one hand on my shoulder, too firm. That touch felt like ownership. We didn't have time, his thumb pressed down. He smiled like he was trying to charm me. I hated that it almost worked for a second. Then his next words ruined it. She's your family too now, he let that hang. Not a request, not a discussion. I felt something in me go cold and quiet. Like my own kindness turned against me. His mother appeared in the kitchen doorway. She leaned on the cane and watched us like a judge. Her eyes went straight to the list on the counter. Then she looked at me and smirked. Oh good, she nodded toward my hands. You can start by cleaning the bathroom. She said it like I'd been waiting for directions. My chest tightened so hard I almost laughed again. My husband didn't react, not even a twitch. He just folded his arms and waited. He waited for me to comply. That was the moment I realized the trap was real. I turned my head toward him slow. I searched his face for a crack, any doubt. He met my eyes and held them. Then he tipped his chin toward the hallway. Do it, Maya, his voice stayed even. Not angry, not cruel, just sure. My skin went prickly like I was standing naked. Because I understood what he was testing. I nodded without meaning to. It was reflex, like survival. Then I hated myself for that nod. And I knew she noticed it too. A sharp call chime snapped through the house at 5:12 a.m. I sat up so fast my neck twinged. Then it rang again, faster this time. I knew it would not stop until I moved. I padded to her door and paused with my hand raised. Come in already, her voice sliced through the wood. I opened the door and she stared at me like a late employee. Her finger hovered over the chime button like a threat. I need water, she pointed at the empty glass. I reached for it and she yanked it away. Not from the tap, she curled her lip. Then she hit the button again while I stood there. I walked out and tried to breathe through my nose. My brain kept replaying his face from last night. Part of me still expected an apology to appear somehow. Instead, I heard her chime again, slow and smug. When I returned, she watched every step I took. I set the glass down and she pushed it back. Too full, her hand shook the rim on purpose. A thin spill slid onto my fingers and she waited for my reaction. I wiped my hand on my shirt and felt stupid. You ever swallow a comeback because someone dares you to explode? That was me in that doorway, silent and trapped. Her eyes lit up like she caught a scent. My husband wandered in with his phone already unlocked. He didn't look at the glass or my wet sleeve. He looked at her face and checked for mood. Then he looked at me like I failed a quiz. What happened? His voice stayed low and sharp. His mother pressed her palm to her chest and sighed. She slammed it down, she blinked hard and performed sorrow. He turned to me and waited for me to confess. I set it down, I kept my tone flat. He lifted his brows like I was dodging. His mouth tightened and that was my answer. He believed the version that made me the villain. He pulled a folded page from his pocket and opened it. Not messy, not casual, just clean lines and time blocks. He held it between us like proof in court. I saw my work calls crossed out with his pen. You can shift meetings, he tapped the page twice. I stared at the ink and felt my pulse jump. My job suddenly looked optional in his eyes. And his mother watched the whole thing like sport. I tried to grab the page and he lifted it away. That tiny move made me see red. I wanted to shout that I pay bills too. Instead, my voice came out quiet, which scared me more. Why are you doing this? I hated how small it sounded. He dragged a hand down his face and exhaled hard. Because I have to work, he nodded toward the door. Then he left me standing there with her smile behind him. As soon as his car noise faded, she started humming. It was low and wrong like a dare. Make breakfast, she waved her hand at me. Then she added one word that made my jaw clench. Proper, she said it like I grew up feral. I opened my mouth and shut it again. I could feel my temper pacing inside my ribs. Then she clicked the chime once just because she could. I put food down and she poked it with a fork. She didn't take a bite, she inspected. This is greasy, her face twisted in disgust. Then she slid the plate away like I dirtied it. I cleaned up and she called me back immediately. Help me to the bathroom, she held out her hand. When I reached for her elbow, she jerked away. Not like that, her eyes flashed with pleasure. She moved slow until I looked away. The second my eyes drifted, she took a quick step. Then she wobbled her knees and grabbed the wall. Her voice rose lick. An alarm, loud and practiced. My ankle, she clutched it and started shaking. I crouched down and she slapped my hand away. Don't touch me, she snapped, then glanced toward the living room. I heard my husband's ringtone start from her phone. I froze because the timing was too clean. She held the phone out and forced it into my hand. Tell him you did this, her smile flashed and vanished. My stomach flipped because she meant it. I walked away and set the phone on the table. My hands were shaking and I hated that too. I wanted to call him first to control the story. Then I realized I was already playing her game. When he got home, he didn't greet me. He went straight to her and crouched beside her chair. His voice softened and his body angled toward her like a shield. I stood there behind them like a problem waiting to be solved. She's scared, he looked over his shoulder at me. His stare was tight and accusing. I opened my mouth and felt my words stick. Because his mother's eyes warned me not to try. I tried anyway and kept it short. She staged it, my hands lifted then dropped. His face didn't change, not even a flicker. That lack of reaction hit me like a slap. His mother started crying on cue. She didn't cover her face, she wanted the show visible. He rubbed her hand and nodded along. Then he turned back to me with that calm authority again. Just be nicer, he said it like a simple fix. I felt my teeth press together until my jaw hurt. Nicer meant smaller, quieter, easier to push. And I knew he was about to demand more. He walked to the fridge and pulled out a pill organizer. He set it on the table with a careful little click. Tomorrow you start this, his finger traced the days. Then he slid it toward me like a sentence. Her slipper shot into the hallway and smacked my shin. She acted surprised like gravity did it. Then she lifted her voice to a shout. My foot slipped because she rushed me. I stood there with my mouth open, useless. I had not touched her, not even close. She gripped the doorframe and started shaking hard. The shaking looked real enough to sell. I stepped forward and kept my hands visible. Do you want me to call someone? My voice cracked. She snapped her head toward me and hissed. Don't you dare make me look crazy. Then she did the whole thing again, louder. Her knees bent slow, controlled, almost careful. She lowered herself like she was sitting on air. And then she screamed like I pushed her down. I dropped to the floor beside her and froze. I wanted to help, but I could already see the trap. My palms hovered over her shoulder and stopped. Because she was watching for a reason to bite. She clawed at my wrist and jerked it toward her ankle. Look what you did, her nails dug in just enough. I pulled back fast and stared at the red marks. Those marks felt like a loaded gun. My husband burst in from the living room. His face was already set like he had chosen. He crouched near her and shot me a look. The look said I was done. What happened? His voice came out tight and flat. She squeezed out tears and shook her head. She grabbed me, she pointed at my hands. My hands were empty, which somehow did not matter. I backed up and hit the counter edge with my hip. No, one word, ugly and sharp. He lifted his chin and stared past me. Like my denial was just noise. His mother reached for him and clung. Please don't leave me with her, she whispered it loud. I watched his shoulders soften for her. And I felt something in me snap loose. I tried to explain fast, too fast. Words piled up and came out messy. He flinched like I was shouting at him. Then he stood and pointed at the hallway. Go calm down, his finger didn't shake. He used the tone he saves for strangers. I wanted to laugh, but it came out thin. Because I realized he meant it. I walked into the kitchen and gripped the sink edge. My pulse thumped in my throat, hard and stupid. I stared at the red scratch lines on my wrist. And I saw how easy it would be to frame me. A few minutes later, she limped in like a trophy. Not a real limp, more like a performance walk. She leaned close and spoke low. You should have married someone weaker. I moved back and hit the fridge door with my shoulder. My stomach turned, then it settled into ice. I could not believe she enjoyed this. And I hated that part of me still wanted peace. My husband followed her and shut the kitchen door. He did it gently, which felt worse. He looked at my wrist and shrugged once. Stop escalating. I held my arm up and let him see the scratches. Escalating, I repeated it like it tasted rotten. He flicked his eyes away and cleared his throat. Then he spoke like he had a plan ready. Tomorrow I have an early meeting. He glanced at his phone. You'll need to get her dressed before 8. He said it like scheduling a delivery. I stood there and felt my face go numb. I tried a different angle, calmer and direct. I'm not trained for this, my hands spread open. He waved it off and stepped closer. You're capable when you want to be. That line hit me in the gut, not gonna lie. It sounded like a compliment, but it was a leash. I swallowed hard and nodded once just to survive. Then I regretted it before he even turned away. He left the room and her smile followed him. She shuffled to the table and sat like a queen. Get my ankle wrap, she pointed down the hall. I didn't move and she kept pointing. I went to the hall closet and stopped short. The wrap was right there, already set out. That detail made my skin crawl. Who staged it that fast? My fingers pinched the fabric and shook. When I returned, she watched my face, eager. I wrapped her ankle and kept it loose on purpose. She jerked her leg and gasped like I stabbed her. Then she raised her voice toward the living room again. Too tight, she moaned loud and clear. My husband's footsteps hit the floor right away. He walked in and looked at my hands, not her ankle. Like he was hunting for proof. He pulled the wrap off and redid it himself. His hands were gentle, almost tender. Then he turned to me with that same flat stare. You can't treat her like an enemy. I wanted to shout that she started it. I wanted to list every jab and every setup. Instead, I heard myself say something worse. I'm trying. He nodded like he won a point. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He checked the screen and tightened his jaw. What did you tell my sister? I blinked and stared at him, confused. I didn't talk to her, my voice went small again. His thumb flicked across the phone in a fast scroll. Then he shoved it toward my face. A message thread sat open on the screen. I saw my name in a sentence, bold and clean. He had written, she offered to handle Mom at home. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. I stared at him and waited for the explanation. He didn't offer one, not even a fake one. He just held the phone steady in my face. Like I needed to accept the story. I pushed the phone away and felt heat flood up. Why would you write that? My voice finally rose. His eyes widened like I slapped him. Then his face shifted into annoyance. Because it's true enough, he shrugged, casual. He tapped the screen again and showed more. He had asked his sister for a little help. And he blamed the plan on me. His mother watched from her chair, quiet and pleased. She didn't even pretend to be hurt now. She just tracked my face like a scoreboard. And I knew she'd been waiting for this part. I grabbed my own phone and walked to the laundry room. My hand shook so bad I fumbled the passcode twice. I opened our shared family chat and scrolled fast. I found his message sitting there like a landmine. There it was again, my name used like a weapon. He had painted me as the eager caretaker. People replied with praise and little hearts. My chest tightened with a mix of rage and shame. I sat on the floor and reread it slower. I could see where he softened the words. I could see where he skipped my consent. And I could see who would believe him first. I walked out and held my phone up between us. What is this? My voice shook, but it stayed steady. He didn't look surprised, which told me everything. His silence was the loudest answer yet. He took my phone and set it down face up. He pressed his fingers to his temple like I was a headache. Don't do this in front of her, his eyes flicked to his mother. He was protecting her comfort, not my reality. I stepped closer and lowered my voice. You lied to your family, the words felt heavy. He leaned in and spoke through his teeth. I did what I had to do. His mother gave a small cough like a reminder. He turned toward her right away, automatic. Then he looked back at me with a warning. We can talk later. Later meant never, and I knew it. I watched him take her hand and guide her down the hall. His posture was gentle with her, stiff with me. And I stood there holding a truth nobody wanted. The printer spat out pages, and my husband yanked them away fast. He folded them tight and shoved them into a drawer. I stepped closer and held my hand out. His eyes warned me, drop it or pay. I didn't drop it. I opened the drawer the second he left the room. A stack of forms sat on top like bait. My hands shook as I flipped the first page and saw my name. It was a medical contact sheet with bold boxes. My number sat in the primary caregiver line. Not penciled in, not temporary, fully filled. I stared at it until my vision blurred at the edges. I told myself it might be a template mistake. I told myself he clicked the wrong field. Then I saw his signature at the bottom. Next to it was a date from last week. I kept flipping pages faster now. A consent form listed me for in-home supervision. Another page listed me for medication administration. Each checkmark felt like a door shutting. I heard the hallway boards creak and froze mid-page. His mother's shadow stopped near the doorway. She didn't enter, she just listened. I slid the papers under my arm and smiled like nothing happened. She tilted her head and studied my face. You look guilty, her voice stayed light and sharp. I forced a small laugh and stepped between her and the drawer. Her eyes dropped to my arm like she could see through skin. I walked out and locked myself in the bathroom. Not to cry, not yet, just to think straight. I spread the pages across the closed toilet lid. My hands hovered like I was handling something dangerous. One line kept repeating in different ways. Responsible party. Primary caregiver. Emergency decision maker. I kept reading until the words stopped looking real. I checked the next sheet and my throat tightened. It named me as authorized contact for providers. My husband had written it in clean block letters. He didn't misspell anything, he meant every stroke. I heard a soft knock that wasn't polite. Open up, his mother's tone carried patience with teeth. I slid the papers into my shirt and opened the door halfway. Her gaze went straight to my collar like she smelled paper. She pushed the door wider with her cane. Don't hide things in my son's house. I kept my back against the sink and held her stare. She smiled like she knew exactly what I found. My phone buzzed and saved me for a second. A text from my husband flashed across the screen. Do not stress her today, no hello, no question. It read like a rule, and I felt my face go hot. I walked into the kitchen and shoved the forms onto the counter. When he came in, I didn't greet him. I just tapped the page with my finger. He stopped moving like his battery died. What is this? My voice came out steady and strange. He didn't pick up the paper. He stared at the ceiling like answers lived there. Then he exhaled slow like I was exhausting. It's paperwork, he shrugged like it was a grocery list. I pushed the page closer until it touched his stomach. My name is all over it. His eyes flicked down then away again. You're my wife, he said it like that explained consent. I laughed once and hated the sound. You signed for me, my hands trembled in the air. He leaned in and lowered his voice like a threat. Don't make this ugly, his jaw flexed once. I stared at his mouth while he said it. That mouth had kissed me this morning. Now it was telling me to stay quiet or else. His mother called from the living room on cue. Sweetheart, are you fighting again? The word again hit me hard. He glanced toward her like he was checking the audience. I grabbed the papers and walked past him. He reached out and caught my wrist. Not rough enough to bruise, firm enough to stop me. I looked down at his hand and felt my stomach twist. Let go, I kept my voice low. His grip tightened for one heartbeat. Then he released me like he was being generous. I walked away anyway and he followed. I shut the bedroom door and leaned on it. My hand slid through my hair and caught on tangles. I looked for a place to hide the forms. Then I stopped. Why should I hide evidence? I opened the closet and dragged out the old file box. I hadn't touched it in months. Inside were receipts, manuals, and random junk. Then I saw a manila folder with our last name typed on it. I pulled it out and my pulse kicked harder. The folder was thick and already organized. Tabs, labels, dates. It looked like a plan someone built while I slept. I sat on the floor and opened it. A copy of his mother's ID stared up at me. A list of doctors followed. Then a page titled Care Responsibilities appeared, and my name sat at the top. I read it twice because my brain refused it. It listed tasks by time blocks. Morning routine, midday meds, evening check. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a schedule for my life. I flipped again and found a form for power of attorney. Not completed but started. His handwriting filled the first half. My signature line sat empty, waiting. I felt a quick rush of relief, then anger. He hadn't forged that part yet. The empty line looked like a threat. I heard my phone buzz again and checked it. Another message from him. Stop digging, that was it. My skin went cold because he knew, somehow he knew. I looked at the door and then at the vents. I hated that I even thought that. But the timing was too perfect. And my mind started seeing traps everywhere, including inside our walls. I shoved the folder under my arm and stood up. The bedroom door handle rattled once. Then it went still. A pause that felt like someone listening for my breathing. I cracked the door and saw his mother in the hall. She stood too close, like she owned the space. Her mouth curled in that satisfied way. You found the important stuff, didn't you? I tapped out and blocked the doorway with my body. Go sit down, my voice came out sharper than I expected. Her eyes widened for a split second. Then she smiled bigger, like she enjoyed being challenged. You can't talk to me like that, she lifted her chin. I stared at her cane and then at her face. You can't live here like this. Her smile vanished fast and something hard showed. My husband's footsteps hit the hall behind her. He didn't ask what happened. He looked at my arm and then at her face. Like he was checking who to protect first. What are you doing? His voice stayed controlled. I held the folder up between us. I shook it once. Papers shifted inside like a warning rattle. He moved forward and tried to take it. I pulled it back and felt my shoulder tense. His eyes narrowed, then softened into that fake calm. Put it down, we can talk. His mother stepped closer and hissed low. She's unstable. She didn't bother to hide it from me. My husband didn't correct her, he just watched my reaction. I stared at him and felt a weird clarity land. He was measuring me. He wanted me loud so he could label me. So I swallowed my anger and spoke slow like a lawyer. You signed caregiver forms without asking me. You told people I agreed. You planned my time like I was property. Each sentence felt like stepping onto thin ice, and I kept stepping. He tried to interrupt with a raised hand. I kept talking anyway. His face tightened like he hated losing control. Then he did what he always did, he minimized. It's temporary. It's not a big deal. It's family. He stacked the phrases like bricks, hoping I would stop pushing. I opened the folder and jabbed a page at him. This is not temporary. He glanced down and his throat moved once. For a second I saw something like fear, then it vanished. He reached for my elbow with careful fingers. Listen, his voice dropped into that soothing tone. I pulled away and shook my head. The listen wasn't love, it was a leash again. His mother scoffed and waved her hand. Just quit your little job. That word little hit a raw place inside me. My husband didn't argue, he let it sit there. I turned to him and waited for him to defend me. He didn't. He looked annoyed that I expected it. That silence told me exactly how he ranked my life. I stepped back into the bedroom and shut the door again. This time I locked it. The lock clicked and my heart raced anyway. Because I knew a lock means nothing when someone feels entitled. He knocked once, then twice, then stopped. His voice came through the door, softer now. Open up. The request sounded polite, but the pause after sounded like punishment. I didn't open it. I sat on the floor with the folder in my lap. I flipped pages and took photos with my phone. Each click felt like a small rebellion, and I kept going. A page of emails sat inside the folder. Printed threads. My husband had written to someone about home care. The replies listed costs, and his next line made my stomach flip. Wife will handle most tasks. He wrote it like a business update. No question mark, no discussion. I stared at that sentence until my hands went numb. I scrolled through my photos and checked the dates. He started the emails before she even arrived. Not long before, days before. He planned it early, quietly, and alone while smiling at me. I heard his mother laugh outside the door. It wasn't loud, it was private. The kind of laugh someone makes when a trap works. Then her voice slid under the door like smoke. He's a good son. And you're lucky. I clenched my phone so tight my fingers ached because she meant it. My husband's tone shifted, sharper now. Open the door. I pictured his hand on the knob, impatient. I stayed silent and stared at the folder. I realized I wasn't just fighting her, I was fighting him. The knob turned once and stopped. Then it turned again, harder. He didn't have a key, but he tried anyway. That sound flipped a switch in my brain because it felt like a warning. I stood up and backed away from the door. I hid the folder behind my back like it mattered. Then I looked around and realized I had nowhere safe. Not in that room, not in that house, not with him on the other side. The turning stopped and his voice went quiet. I don't want to do this. My skin prickled at the phrasing. Because I heard the missing words, but I will. I unlocked the door and opened it just enough. He pushed it wider with his palm. His face was smooth and controlled, too controlled. His mother stood behind him like a supervisor. He stepped in and closed the door with care. Not a slam, not a tantrum, a decision. His hand stayed on the handle like he owned the exit. And my heart started beating faster because I knew I was cornered. Give me the folder, his voice stayed calm. I held it to my chest and shook my head once. He tilted his head like I disappoint. Ted him. Then he tried a different move, guilt. Do you want her in a facility? He said facility like a curse word. I stared at him and felt my jaw tighten. Because he knew exactly which button to push and he pushed it. I took a breath and answered anyway. I want help. Paid help. Real help. He blinked like I said something selfish, and that told me he never planned to pay. His mother stepped forward and jabbed a finger toward me. She's cruel. My husband nodded once, tiny, almost invisible. That nod was not agreement, it was permission. My throat tightened and my voice went thin. You're letting her call me cruel. He lifted his shoulders like it was minor. She's stressed. And there it was again, her feelings as law. I opened the folder and pulled out the empty signature page. I held it up in his face and pointed. You were going to forge this, weren't you? His eyes flicked to the line, then back to mine. He didn't deny it. He didn't even pretend to be shocked. He just stared at me like I was being dramatic. That lack of denial hit me harder than any insult because it was honest. He reached out and tried to take the page. I yanked it back and the paper tore slightly. His mouth tightened in anger for a flash. Then he smoothed his face again, like he practiced that too. Stop acting like a victim, his voice stayed level. My chest hurt when he said it. I wanted to scream that I wasn't acting. Instead, I whispered something worse, I trusted you. His eyes narrowed at the word trusted. His mother made a small, satisfied sound. Then he stepped closer until I could feel his breath. You'll do it, the words landed flat like a final decision. I backed up until my legs hit the bed frame. The folder bent under my grip. My phone sat in my palm like my only weapon. And I realized something scary, he wasn't asking anymore. He reached for my phone and I twisted away fast. His palm hit the wall where my shoulder had been. His face stayed calm, which made it worse. Give it to me, his fingers flexed like a warning. I backed up and my heel caught the rug edge. I didn't fall, but the stumble gave him confidence. He took one step closer, slow and sure. His mother watched from the hall with bright eyes. I lifted my phone higher like it could protect me. He tilted his head and softened his voice. "Breathe, you're spiraling," the words felt rehearsed. My stomach turned because I recognized the tactic. I nodded once like I agreed, then tapped my screen. I hit send on the photos to my own email. My thumb shook, but it worked. He saw the motion and his expression sharpened. "What did you just do?" His voice dropped into a low hiss. I held his stare and forced my breath steady. "I saved myself," the sentence came out colder than I felt. His mouth tightened like he tasted something bitter. His mother shuffled closer and leaned into the doorway. "You're breaking his heart," her tone dripped syrup. I looked at her and felt my hands curl into fists. Then she added the line meant to crush me. "No man stays with a difficult woman." She said it like she was teaching a child. My husband didn't shut it down, not even slightly. I watched his silence settle between us like a verdict. I stepped sideways toward the dresser and grabbed my keys. He moved too, mirroring me like a guard. I shifted again and he kept pace, no rush, no shame. That tiny dance made my skin crawl. "Where are you going?" His voice cut through the room. I didn't answer because answers turn into arguments. I kept my eyes on his hands and the exit line. My heart hammered like it wanted out first. He slid in front of the doorway and crossed his arms. Not violent, just blocking, which felt more deliberate. His mother's smile widened behind him. I realized they expected me to fold. "I need space," I tried to keep it simple. He shook his head once like I was being childish. "Not until you calm down." He lifted his phone. The screen faced me like a camera. "Are you recording me?" My voice cracked on the last word. He didn't confirm, he didn't deny. He just held it steady and waited for me to explode. I swallowed hard because that was the point. I forced my hands open and lowered my shoulders. I spoke slower than normal, almost stiff. "I will not be her caregiver." Each word landed clean. His eyes flashed, then he masked it. "She's staying." His reply came too fast. He pointed toward the guest room like it was law. "You will help." He nodded like the matter was closed. My throat burned with rage. I refused to gift him. I stepped closer until we were almost chest to chest. I kept my voice low so it wouldn't shake. "Professional help or she leaves." I didn't blink. His face twitched like I hit a nerve. His mother let out a small laugh from the doorway. "Listen to her making demands." She clapped once, slow. My husband's jaw tightened, then he tried charm again. "Don't do this to me." His eyes went glossy on purpose. I hated that my chest squeezed at the sight. I hated that part of me still wanted to fix it. You ever catch yourself caring at the worst time? That was me standing there fighting my own instincts. I took a step back and shook my head. "I'm not doing unpaid labor for your lies." The word lies made his eyes narrow to slits. His mother's smile vanished like someone flipped a switch. "You watch your mouth." Her voice snapped sharp. She raised her cane slightly, not to swing, to threaten. My husband lifted one hand toward her like a calm signal. Then he looked back at me with quiet punishment. "You're disrespecting my mother." He said it like a charge in court. I pointed at the blocked door with one finger. "You're imprisoning your wife." My voice didn't rise. His nostrils flared, then he smiled a little. That smile scared me more than anger. He leaned in and spoke near my ear. "Stop talking like that." The words came out gentle and chilling. I stepped away and my back hit the dresser. My hands searched behind me for the folder without looking. My fingers found the edge and gripped hard. I realized I still had proof, and proof made me a threat. He noticed the motion and lunged once. Not full speed, but fast enough to startle. I jerked the folder up and out of his reach. Paper corners bent and his eyes went hot. "Give me that." His voice clipped the air. I shook my head and tucked it under my arm. His mother clicked her tongue like she'd trained him well. Then she aimed her next line right at him. "Handle her." 2 words, and he straightened like he got orders. He stepped toward me again, shoulders squared. My pulse spiked because he chose a side. I lifted my phone and hit the emergency screen. My thumb hovered over the call button. I didn't want to, but I would. His eyes flicked to the phone and he paused. Don't, he held one palm up like I was a wild animal. His voice went soft, which meant danger. You'll regret that, he nodded once slow. That nod felt like a promise. I took a breath and hit my contacts instead. I tapped a friend's name and put the call on speaker. My voice came out steady somehow. Can you pick me up now? The silence on the line felt loud. My husband's eyes widened and he reached out. I pulled the phone close to my chest and turned away. My friend's voice crackled back, tight with concern. I'm on my way, those words hit like oxygen. His mother scoffed from the doorway again. Calling people to shame him, she rolled her eyes. My husband stepped in front of me and lowered his tone. You're humiliating us, his gaze pinned me in place. I stared at him and felt something snap into place. This wasn't about care, it never was. It was about control and the audience. And I refused to be the prop anymore. I pushed past him with my shoulder and went to the closet. I grabbed a duffel and shoved clothes inside fast. Not folded, not pretty, just enough to leave. My hands moved like they had their own brain. He followed and snatched the duffel strap. The bag jerked sideways and hit the wall. Stop, his voice rose for the first time. His mother appeared behind him like a spectator. I yanked the strap back and my elbow clipped his ribs. Not a punch, not aimed, but he acted like it was. He stumbled one step and grabbed his side. His mother gasped loud, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. Did you see that? She pointed at me, shaking. My husband's eyes went sharp and cold. He lifted his phone again and angled it at my face. I realized he wanted evidence more than he wanted me. I froze and lifted both hands, palms out. Don't, my voice stayed calm but my legs shook. He stared at my hands like he was memorizing them. Then he spoke with that flat certainty again. You're not leaving. I laughed once, short and ugly, then stopped. Watch me, I stepped toward the door anyway. My heart kicked hard because I didn't know if he'd grab me. He moved fast and blocked the hallway again. His mother stood behind him, eyes bright, mouth tight. They looked like a team now, not family. And I finally accepted what I'd been avoiding. You can't stop me. My voice sounded weird in my own ears. He lifted his chin and stared down his nose. I can make this very hard, his threat stayed quiet. I nodded slowly like I understood the stakes. Then I reached into my pocket and hit record. Not flashy, not dramatic, just a small move. His eyes flicked down because he saw it. You're recording, his voice sharpened on the last word. I shrugged like I didn't care if he knew. You started it, I kept walking one step at a time. My knees felt weak but I didn't stop. His mother hissed behind him. Take her phone, her tone was pure command. My husband's hand lifted, then dropped. For 1 second he hesitated and I saw the crack. I used that crack. I slipped past his shoulder and headed for the front door. My fingers hook on the lock, but it turned. The door opened and cool air hit my face like freedom. He rushed after me and grabbed my forearm. Not gentle, not bruising, but firm and possessive. Don't do this, his voice went desperate. My stomach flipped because it almost sounded real. I looked down at his hand and then up at his eyes. I didn't yank away, I peeled his fingers off. One by one, slow and deliberate. He watched me do it like I was betraying him. You chose her over me. I said it flat, no drama, just truth. He opened his mouth, then shut it. His mother's voice snapped from behind him. She's trying to split you. My husband's eyes flicked toward her, automatic. Then he looked back at me like he'd remembered his role. That shift told me everything I needed to know. I stepped onto the porch and kept my phone up. My friend's car lights appeared at the curb in the distance. My husband stood in the doorway, jaw tight, phone in hand. His mother stood behind him, smiling like she won. Take the papers, my husband nodded at the folder. Leave the rest, the words landed like I was property. I hugged the folder tighter and shook my head. I'm taking my life, my voice trembled but it held. He took one step forward and stopped himself. He glanced at my raised phone, then back at my face. His mother whispered something at his shoulder. I saw his mouth move, silent agreement. My friend's car rolled up and stopped hard. The passenger door unlocked with a loud click. I didn't run, but I moved fast. Every step felt like walking off a cliff. My husband called my name from the doorway. He sounded angry now, not sad. His mother laughed under her breath like a reward. I kept my eyes on the open car door. I slid into the seat and shut the door. My friend's hands tightened on the wheel. "You okay?" Her voice shook and she didn't look back. I stared at the house and couldn't answer yet. My phone buzzed with a new message as we pulled away. One line from my husband, no greeting, no softness. "If you leave, I'll tell everyone what you did." I stared at the screen while the house shrank in the mirror.